The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everybody to the April 2018 monthly webinar brought to you on behalf of Perry Johnson Laboratory Accreditation. My name is Mike Kramer and I am the Calibration Program Manager at PJLA. Thank you all for joining us this month. And as you can see, today's topic is we're going to do two of the shorter sections in 17025-2017. Section 7.6, evaluation of measurement uncertainty. Along we'll look at the requirements under 7.7, the validity of results. So as always, this webinar is being recorded. Hence, if you have a colleague that may want to go back and listen to it, it's available on our website probably shortly after today's broadcast at our website, www.pjlabs.com. Go to the link for recorded webinars. We have a history of recorded webinars there, so you can listen to this one and perhaps find some other topics of interest that you can go back and listen to the recording in its entirety. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. The duration of the webinar is set for no longer than an hour, so I don't anticipate this one going that long. It's two rather short sections, and and as always, there'll be time for you all to submit questions at the end. That will be funneled to me, so we'll have some time at the end to perhaps go over some questions that related to today's material. So section 7.6 is the evaluation of measurement uncertainty. This is not a new topic for 17025 by any means. However, it is a new section. It was captured in the 2005 version of 17025. However, it fell within section 5.4, which was the test and calibration methods. Measurement uncertainty was captured under 5.4.6. What I have depicted there are two pictures. So when we're looking at the requirements for measurement uncertainty, we see the terms come up, estimation, and we also see the term evaluation associated with the requirements for measurement uncertainty. So the picture sort of depicts what we're talking about. So the estimation on the left, at the bottom of the screens, are a couple examples of how they're used. So that's the less rigorous evaluation and analysis of an uncertainty, as opposed to an evaluation that's pictured on the right, which is a more rigorous calculation of measurement uncertainty. So let's look at the requirements. And this is, I know we got the various folks, vast majority of folks actually are still accredited to the 2005 version. This is going to be focusing on the 2017 standard itself. So we are assessing to the 2017 standard, and we're having labs transition to the 2017 standard over the next 3 years. So diving right into the requirements here under 7.6. 7.6.1, laboratories shall identify the contributors to measurement uncertainty. When evaluating measurement uncertainty, all contributors that are of significance, including those arising from sampling, shall be taken into account using appropriate methods of analysis. So if you think about that, you look at that, and when I read it, I think, well, heck, that sounds just like an uncertainty budget. So those folks that are logged on from calibration, I know you're familiar with uncertainty budgets, as we have specific requirements in them stated in PL3, which is PJLA's policy on measurement uncertainty. So those of you that may not be that familiar with an uncertainty budget, here's an example one. So basically, you're as the requirement states, you're identifying the significant contributors. So here's an example of an uncertainty budget for a calibration of an infrared thermometer, one of those temperature devices that will shoot lasers and give you the temperature as to where it is focused at. So we're identifying the contributors. We typically have repeatability, uncertainty of standard, resolution of the device. Here we have other things that's pretty much specific to the type of calibration. Overall, we have 6 contributors identified here. So a laboratory performing calibration, including of its own equipment, shall evaluate the measurement uncertainty for all calibrations. So of course, 762 will apply to calibration labs. You're calibrating folks' artifacts that are being sent in. However, if you're a testing lab and for whatever reason you made the decision to calibrate your own equipment, hence, you would fall under the realm of 762. When we're looking at the requirements for 2017 as opposed to 2005, one key ingredient is missing. Those of you that was with us last week when we did a broad overview of the changes between the two standards, the 2017 is much less prescriptive. So we see the requirement from the 2005 standard 5461, a calibration laboratory or a testing laboratory performing its own calibration shall have and apply a procedure to estimate the uncertainty of measurements for all calibrations and types of calibrations. You're not required to have utilize a procedure, and this is, as I stressed probably a few times last month, the 2017 is much more in tune with the electronic age. Hence, quite often, measurement uncertainty is part of a program. It's programmed into, let's say, the software that's perhaps looking up tables of the key contributors, calculating the repeatability, and doing the calculations, combining and expanding the uncertainties. Hence, the need for a documented procedure is not as relevant today as it was back in 2005. Hence, it's no longer required to have a procedure. However, if you're currently utilizing a procedure, you can still do your uncertainty and can comply to the 2017 version if your procedure is specific, where you're identifying the key contributors and analyzing the measurement uncertainty statistically appropriately. The documented procedure can still be used. However, it is not required. Okay, 763. A laboratory performing testing shall evaluate measurement uncertainty. That's the picture that was on the right at the few slides ago. However, where the test method precludes rigorous evaluation of measurement uncertainty and estimation, i.e. that picture on the left, of the individual accounting look like jelly beans in a jar, shall be made based on the understanding of the theological principles or practical experience of the performance of the methods. Okay, so those folks that are involved in testing, testing laboratories, the requirements in the 2017 standard are the same as they were in the 2005. There's no change there. Quite often with testing laboratories, measurement uncertainty is specified within the procedure. So looking at 763, what does this mean? So if we look at the standard, there's some additional information that the standard provides us in the case of notes. So note 1, in the cases where a well-recognized test method specifies limits to the value of the major sources of measurement uncertainty and specifies the form of presentation of the calculated results, the laboratory is considered to have successfully satisfied clause 763 by following the test methods and reporting instructions. An example could be, for instance, rapid method kits that specifies limits to the values of the major sources, i.e. contributors of uncertainty, as well as well-recognized rapid methods where kits are used to determine qualitative results. Perhaps your testing lab falls within this next bucket. Note number 2, for a particular method where the measurement uncertainty of the results has been established and verified, there is no need to evaluate measurement uncertainty for each result if the lab can demonstrate that the identified critical influencing factors are under control. Note 3 gives some guidance documents as far as testing and uncertainty. So we have ISO Guide 98.3, ISO 21748, and ISO 5725 series, which I have identified at the bottom of the screen as to what they are. Okay, that's it for section 7.6, evaluation of measurement uncertainty. As far as the comparison between the 2005 and the 2017, I would say probably the only significant changes is as far as the actual requirements within the standards is the fact that the procedure is no longer required. Can still be used, but it's no longer required. Okay, we're going to turn our attention to section 7.7, which is ensuring the validity of results. That can be crosswalked over to the 2005 standard as section 5.9, which is assuring the quality of testing calibration results. So these are those internal measurement assurance program activities that you're incorporating into your laboratory activities, such as what's depicted here is checking the laboratory balance with test weights, showing that it's operating within predefined criteria before proceeding with testing. That's something that would fall under the realm of this section, 7.7. Okay, I'm going to look at the requirements. The laboratory shall have a procedure for monitoring the validity of results. The resulting data shall be recorded in such a way that trends are detected, and where practical, statistical techniques shall be applied to review the results. This monitoring shall be planned and reviewed and shall include, where appropriate, but not limited to, and I have depicted, these are internal controls. These are things that are done within the boundaries of the laboratory. As far as what's stated here, this is a same requirement that was stated in the 2005 standard. However, we've had some additions to the internal control tools. We're going to look at them all. So included in this would be the use of reference material or quality control material. Examples of pH buffer solutions there. What's been added was everything that I've bolded on these slides here. These are additions from what was stated in the 2005 standard. Hence, the use of alternative instrumentation that has been calibrated to provide traceable results. Perhaps you have good traceable results where you can go run the tester calibration and run a check between your results and those provided traceable results. Functional checks of measurement and test equipment, i.e. perhaps there's an internal calibration that the instrument does where it checks the functionality of the testing equipment. Use of checker working standards with control charts where applicable. Intermediate checks on measurement equipment. Replica tests of or calibrations using the same or different methods. Comparing the results, of course. Retesting of calibration of retained items. Correlation of results of different characteristics of an item. Perhaps, for example, temperature, increase in temperature will have a specific resulting influence on a artifact that can be verified within the laboratory. All right, the I, J, and K are all additions that's listed in the 2017 version. And simply the review of reported results has been added. Intra-laboratory comparisons. These are comparisons within the confines of your organization, where perhaps a group of technicians will test or calibrate the same artifact, and a comparison would be made of those results. Testing of blind samples. Technicians can test a sample not knowing exactly where it came from and record the results. Could even be a sample that they've previously tested, or perhaps a sample that another technician has tested unbeknownst to the person testing it. They would test it just like they would a customer's. So whatever is appropriate, whatever your organization is doing to fulfill these requirements that are stated here, records should be made to support that these activities are being performed. Okay, I'm going to look at, we'll call these external programs here. The 772, the laboratory shall monitor its performance by comparison with results of other laboratories, and I highlighted here, where available and appropriate. So a couple things there. We have a shall, which is a requirement, but we also have in this same clause, where available and appropriate. This monitor shall be planned and reviewed and shall include, we got a couple shalls there, additional, but not limited to either or both of the following. Okay, so this is an addition, this is a change from 2005 to 2017. You have to do one, both, or one or the other. And the two types of testing is A, participation in proficiency testing. So that is a note that's added, 170443, that's an international standard for proficiency testing providers. As additional information, if a third-party provider is used, there are accredited PT providers under the 17043 standard. So I either have to do a third-party proficiency test or participation in interlaboratory comparisons other than proficiency testing. And what is that? That's where I said these are external controls, whereas before we were looking at internal within the four walls of the organization. So if you're doing an interlaboratory test, that would be a comparison between your organization and another laboratory organization. And we'll be looking at the definitions here shortly. So it's a change there stated in 772. However, you have to participate in either or both. However, if you're accredited through PJLA, you should be familiar with PL1, which is PJLA's policy on proficiency testing. If you're a PJLA accredited facility, laboratory, you're going to already meet the requirements that's been brought forth within the 2017 standard 7.7.2 that we just went over. And we'll look at those requirements shortly, but there's your definitions of interlaboratory and proficiency testing. These come right out of the definition section of the 2017 standard. Okay, so with PL1, PJLA's policy on proficiency testing, we speak about, we go over the 4-year plans, and we also specify approved means of proficiency testing. We approved already. Top of the list would be proficiency testing, i.e. third-party proficiency testing providers. You can also do a interlaboratory comparison. They are both recognized under PL1. However, as you recall, in the 17025 standard is specified where available and appropriate. So we already addressed that in PL1 when we speak about intralab comparisons and repeatability studies. Hence, if an organization wishes to proceed with any of the above mentioned means, they must state in writing why third-party or interlaboratory comparisons are not feasible and how they plan to conduct the test and analyze the data. This document shall be submitted to PJLA headquarters for review and approval. So right there, where available and appropriate, the requirement is stated in the 2017 standard. Where available and appropriate, if an organization feels that there are none available or appropriate PTs, if a PJLA accredited lab complying with PL1, you would have to put that request in writing, state why it's not appropriate. Perhaps there are no third-party providers, and you're, for whatever reason, unable to participate in an interlab test. But you also need to state how you plan to conduct and analyze the data, compare the results in some sort of meaningful way. Okay, back into the requirements as stated in the 2017 standard 773. Data from the monitoring activity shall be analyzed, used to control, and if applicable, improve the laboratory's activity. If the results of the analysis of data from monitoring activities are found to be outside predefined criteria, appropriate actions shall be taken to prevent incorrect results from being reported. So this was stated in the 2017. However, the concept of analyzing data to control and improve laboratory activities is additional. So folks are fulfilling, are doing proficiency testing, for example, because the standard says they have to. Also because PJLA has a policy guide, PL1, that states that organizations have to participate in proficiency testing. However, ideally, the laboratory should be getting some benefit. This data can be used to hopefully to control and improve laboratory activities. Even if you are doing a interlab test, just a comparison by itself is not appropriate. They have to have some sort of predefined limits of acceptance, which will show, i.e. the results do compare to each other, or i.e. they do not compare to each other. So as far as the requirements under 7.7, that's it. A couple things I like to add here. As you can see, the 2017 standard is placing more emphasis on interlaboratory comparisons and proficiency testing. Other than the fact that 17025, and that should be 2017, not 2007 there, and PJLA PL1 requires it. They're beneficial tools for the laboratories to check their reliability of their results by comparison within their peer groups and to demonstrate their performance to clients and accreditation bodies. With the increasing availability of PT schemes in many technical fields, the criteria for the selection of an appropriate scheme are becoming more important. So other than the fact that the standard requires it and PL1 requires it, interlaboratory comparisons are performed for various reasons. It can be utilized to validate test procedures, method validation, interlaboratory comparisons. It's one of the methods that's listed. To certify reference material, to assess the competence of laboratories, or more general, to investigate the degree of comparability among laboratories. Irrespective of the specific aims of the interlaboratory comparison, the results can be used by the participating laboratories to check the performance of its test procedure and or its staff, to demonstrate its competence toward clients and accreditation bodies, and also to gain useful information for the evaluation of its measurement uncertainty. So for additional information regarding proficiency testing, please visit the PJLA website that's listed on your screen there. We have under our resource tabs, we have a list of proficiency testing providers. And also, it's not shown here on the screen, but as far as analyzing proficiency tests, we do have a calculator. It's called an eNormal analysis, which a lot of our laboratories that are used to conduct an interlab test, where you're going to fulfill the requirements, if you use the eNormal analysis, of comparing your results in a meaningful way where predefined limits of acceptance are selected, or are determined. Okay, that's the end of the presentation there. So we'll pause here, give it about 5 minutes. If you have any questions, there should be a place on your screen. Please limit the questions to material that we've gone over. Here, if there's questions pertaining the requirements in 7.6 or 7.7, you submit them right there on your screen. I will mute myself, and I will chime back in about 5 minutes, see what questions that may have funneled their way to myself. Okay, welcome back. I have a few questions here, but before I get to those, I just want to um, bring up next month's webinar, which is already scheduled for May 22nd. And what we're going to be looking at next month is section 786, statements of conformity, to include the decision rule requirements specified in ISO IEC 17025 2017. Okay, yeah, should have a few questions. All right, question one, if we are doing an interlaboratory study, do we have to work with a similar accredited lab? Well, if you're doing an interlaboratory study, be it a test or a calibration, it should be basically comparing the same test or the same calibration, i.e., on the same artifact or the same test sample. So the short answer I would give to that would be that yes, most definitely so. Excuse me, I hope I understand the question correctly. We have to work with a similarly accredited lab. 17025, the requirement doesn't say that doesn't say anything in there about the other organization being accredited. However, we do specify. I don't want to go into too much detail on PL1. If you're whoever asked this question is accredited through PJILA. Short of that is yes. However, if they are not, then they would have to follow the protocol and show that their results are in fact traceable. And we do go into some detail as far as the information that would be needed for that. So if that's what the question is asking, does it have to be another accredited organization? We do address that in PL1. We currently have all laboratory equipment calibrated by an outside source with all uncertainties reported on the certificates. We use these instruments to check calibrations on small field test instruments that our service tech utilizes out in the field. Is it required to provide uncertainty on the reports for our field test instruments? Well, it's a little bit out of the realm here of what we went over today, but the short of that is if this is an internal calibration that you're performing, and what you're asking me here are do you have to provide it on the reports? The answer to that is no. It comes under the realm of simplified reporting, and that is addressed under the validity of reports. And also section 510 in the 2005 standard talks about internal calibration and simplified reporting. So if these are internal, if it's used in your accreditation, you have to, of course, know what the uncertainty is. However, you don't have to report it. This next question, and this is live TV, folks. I'm getting these right off my phone and trying to digest them here as I'm reading them, but I'm just getting them. Is there any international standard taken about acceptance criteria of analyzers? I really don't know. I can try to find out, but I'm unaware of any calibration. In other words, if I perform calibrations on gas analyzers, how can I know if my calibration is pass or fail? Well, that's really not, I'm really not familiar with that particular calibration. However, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is a reference material gas. So if you're able to get from a certified reference material, i.e. Guide 34, a reference gas, that could be utilized as a means to check your results. I have one more question here. Clarify in 7.7F, is that related to R&R studies? I'll go back and look at that. Replica test or calibration using the same or different methods. That sounds like, yes, it is related to R&R activities, or R&R studies can be incorporated into that bullet point F that was under that clause was 7.71. Okay, that's all I see here coming across my phone. I want to thank everybody for signing in today. I sincerely hope that you found this information useful and can take it forward with you as you comply to the new standard and working with your transition from 2005 to 2017. Look forward to logging back on next month. Well, we'll look at 7.8.6, reporting statements of conformity to include the decision rule requirements specified in ISO IEC 17025. Again, that will be May 22nd. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.